only other person that done that is Megatron. So, I pay attention to things like that. People were talking about Aaron Rodgers' weapons or lack thereof. Haven't I been somebody consistently, Jacoby, that's like, wait a minute. Rodgers is top tier. Adams is top tier. And you see what he said after the game yesterday. You're like, wait a minute. I'm actually the best receiver in the game. And I told you that Aaron Jones was top tier. He was back as well. So the Packers, their offensive triplets are not their issue. Their defense in particular, stopping the run, has been their issue.
Absolutely. Now, Davante Adams was asked if he was the best player in the game. He said he's not conceded, and he is. And I was like, is he? And I started looking at some of the numbers. He has more TDs than anybody else in the league. Okay. 675 yards, 5th in the league, 6th in the league in receptions. And then I was like, oh, wait a second. He's only played in 6 games, and everyone else who's above him has played in 7 or 8 games. So by the numbers, he might not be wrong. However, there is someone that plays in Arizona that you and I like a little bit more than Davante Adams, and we will get to him later. He's got a big game this weekend, but we start with the biggest game of the weekend, and that is a matchup that we saw in Week 1 where the Saints beat the Bucs. This is the rematch. What do you expect to see from this Saints offense?
Kamara and more Kamara. Out of the backfield rushing, out of the backfield catching, lining up at receiver, lining up in the slot. This guy's so very graceful, Jacoby. Gives old school football fans shades of Gale Sayers. When it looks like everybody else is just running really fast, he just looks smooth and effortless. Alvin Kamara is going to have to be that consistent threat for Drew Brees because Michael Thomas and Emmanuel Sanders have both been in and out of the lineup, and we don't know if they're going to even play in this game.
It seems like every time Kamara touches the ball, he goes for 8 yards. Whether he's catching it, whether he's running it, and he always seems to get the corner and get first downs constantly. However, the Bucs have the antidote for Alvin Kamara, and that is the best linebacking duo in the league, David and White. Also 2 words that you would use to describe me, David Jacoby. However, this team has the 2nd most sacks in the league, too. And White and David are so fast that I think they're going to give Kamara trouble turning the corner. I think without Thomas and Sanders, as you mentioned, they're leaning on Kamara so much. It seems like he touches the ball like 2 out of every 3 plays that the Saints run. I really think that this Bucs defense is going to be the reason that they beat the Saints this weekend, not all the weapons that they have on offense. And, of course, I feel obligated to ask, this is obviously the debut of Antonio Brown, another weapon for Tom Brady. What do you expect from him? How many snaps? How many targets? What do you think will happen with Antonio Brown and the Bucs?
For him, it's great to just be back in the league. He's had a tumultuous last couple of years in and out of the game. And a lot of times, as he alluded to, you don't truly miss the game until it's actually taken away from you. And I give Tom Brady a lot of credit for him getting this opportunity. And I believe that he understands if he screws this opportunity up, there won't be any more opportunities. So don't be surprised if Tom Brady looks to try to get him involved. He's going to try to get Gronk involved, of course, and now they found their old school magic. Remember when he played 1 game with AB against the Dolphins, I believe he actually scored a touchdown. So don't be surprised if the Bucs try to get AB and pay dirt.
Well, that would be significant for another reason as well, because Tom Brady and Drew Brees keep going back and forth on the all-time TD list. How cognizant do you think that these 2 are when they play about that all-time TD title?
You know I'm huge on not beefing down. What Tom Brady has been able to do, Jacoby, is because of his excellence in his 6 championships. Other all-time greats like Peyton Manning had to initially take as many stats and touchdown passes as they can get. And then all of a sudden, Manning won him 2 Super Bowls and validated. Drew Brees, the exact same thing, getting all of the stats, putting all of the numbers, getting all the touchdown passes, and then he got a Super Bowl. Now they're both past 40 and they're still in the league. So while it's going to mean something to us to cover, trust me, it's going to mean a lot more to Drew Brees than Tom Brady, who has more touchdowns passing when they both retire.
That's a good point. Now, both of these quarterbacks have been or are MVP level performers. But this year's frontrunner for the MVP at the midway point is pretty clearly Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson and his Seahawks go on the road to Buffalo. What do you expect to see from Seahawks on the road in Buffalo?
Look at that deep ball, Jacoby. That reminds me of how I used to want it to look like, oh man, you can't hand it to a player more efficient than that. You see how Russell, look at the flick of the wrist. Look at the flick of the wrist. Nobody's doing it better currently in the game, and you see Lockett the Rocket getting out there deep, and Metcalf. What's going to happen with your die easy Bills at home, Jacoby? Are they going to be able to stop Russell from throwing deep?
Hold on. Jalen, no one can stop Russell from throwing deep, but here's why the Buffalo Bills are going to beat the Seahawks this weekend. The Seahawks are great on offense. They've got all those weapons. The Seahawks give up 358 yards a game in the air. Again, 358. That is not just worse in the league. That is worse in the league by 46 yards a game. They cannot stop teams from throwing the ball on them. And Josh Allen has himself a new toy this year. That is Stephon Diggs. The Allen to Diggs connection you will see is going to score a couple touchdowns. I'm talking like 150 yards for Diggs. This is going to be another one of those Seahawks games that goes down to the wire. Something weird happens at the end, but it's going to be their inability to stop other teams through the air, which plagued the Seahawks all year long, is going to hurt them in this one, which is why I have Buffalo with the upset. And it's not just through the air, Jalen Rose. Buffalo the last couple games have been doing it on the ground. Not the biggest names. They're rushing the ball in the NFL, but Singletary and Moss have been pretty productive as a tandem. 126 yards a couple weeks ago, 190 yards last week. I have Buffalo as an upset in this one, and you look like you disagree, Mr. Rose.
I know David Jacoby very well, friends and brothers from another for over a decade. I know what you're doing right now.
What's that?
I know what you're doing. I've gambled with you. You're putting all of your chips in the middle of the table for your die easy Bills. You talked about how great the defense is. You talked about how great Josh Allen is. You talked about how great Diggs is. We're the only show to ever talk about Singletary and Moss, and their run game is so underrated in the league. Because if they lose after you picked them, they're going to really let you down.
Oh, I'm off.
And I think if they let you down, you're going to jump off of the bandwagon.
Another bandwagon.
I think this topic is all about you.
Way off it. Of course. I see the Bills winning at home. And remember where you heard it first, Jalen and Jacoby. Next up, we have, this is ESPN that you were watching as Jalen and Jacoby, but from time to time we turn into the Cardinals News Network. That is because early in the season we decided that we were going to support this Cardinals team because Kyler Murray and DeAndre Hopkins, they play against the Dolphins. What do you see in this one from Murray on the ground and Hopkins receiving?
I think in an election year, I need to sign a petition. I think if the Cardinals make the playoffs and win a game, you need to get an image of Cliff Kingsbury during the draft behind you on your wall. What do you think about that?
I mean, it's great
see
architecture. I
Kyler
love
Murray,
his home.
Jacoby. That's what I see. I see Kyler Murray going to D-Hop. And you know what I think? Let me tell you what I think. He was watching Adams last night, and he heard my stat. He heard catch 10 balls, get 150 yards, score a TD. That's what D-Hop is going to do this weekend.
He saw Adams. I have DeAndre Hopkins as the best receiver in the league. However, Jalen, you know how I jump from bandwagon to bandwagon, and we're on the Cardinals bandwagon right now? Don't tell DeAndre Hopkins. No. I think they lose this game. It's the Dolphins defense. The Dolphins give up 18.6 points a game. That is the lowest in the entire league. You saw last week what they did to the Rams, and they score points too. And everyone points to Tua and how poorly he performed at 90-something yards, only 12 completed balls or whatever. Tua put together one of the best college careers we've ever seen from a quarterback. I believe in Tua's abilities. I think he can't be bad 2 weeks in a row, and I think it's that Dolphins defense which is going to stifle the Cardinals offense. But this is going to be the one that I'm going to have my eye on in the late games. You know what I might do? I might turn Red Zone off and just turn this one on. I might just exclusively hone in on this one because I'm so excited for this one, and I really want Kyler Murray to lose this one, but don't tell D-Hop, okay, Jay? I know he's in your phone. Don't tell him. I'll jump right back on the bandwagon after they win. One game that I do not think will be very competitive, but will be interesting, is what are the Cowboys going to do against the Steelers and that defense at the quarterback position? They don't even know who they're going to start at this point. They don't know if they're going to start Garrett Gilbert or Cooper Rush. They're splitting snaps. They just said, we're going to figure it out by Saturday. Jalen, what is happening?
Thank you for this visual. Thank you, Demetrius, our producer. Is that Mike Tomlin?
Yes.
So let me just introduce everybody that knows anything about the NFL. Put Mike Tomlin back up there. That gentleman is the best bargain in the NFL. They're going against the Dallas Cowboys. And for so many years, we've talked about their lack of an identity, their lack of direction, their lack of leadership. Let me see. These are all of the things that Mike Tomlin gives the Pittsburgh Steelers. They don't have a $100 million wide receiver. They don't have a top flight, highest paid running back in the NFL. They don't have one of the highest paid defensive linemen in the NFL. But you know what they have? Mike Tomlin. And if I'm the Pittsburgh Steelers, an organization that's only had 3 coaches in over 60 plus years, the model of having an identity and consistency, when I see Matt Rule sign this deal with Carolina, I bring Mike Tomlin in the office. And I say, let me tell you something. Here's a check. Whatever they give Matt Rule, we're going to do the Stephon Marbury and the KG. Either I want $1 more or $1 less. That's what we're going to do for Mike Tomlin.